souvenir in case they get to 75.
All right. So first of all, our first question that we're going to ask is, how did you meet your spouse? So first we'll go with Grandpa.
I met my spouse at the Kingdom Hall.
Okay. How did you meet your spouse? I mean, because I know. I'm sure. All right. Now, got that one out of the way, so we know that you two are married. All right. Now, Grandma, were you attracted to Grandpa immediately?
Not really.
I know this might come as a shock with all your dashing looks. I mean, you know. All right. Now your turn. Were you attracted to your spouse immediately?
I noticed her actually. When I first noticed her, besides meeting her at the Kingdom Hall, was in high school, and she had a very determined walk, is what I noticed, and that's kind of what first attracted me to her, the way she walked.
And that was when you first met her, walking into the Kingdom Hall. All right. So, what attracted you to Grandpa? Because, I mean, you are attracted to him, right? So, eventually, something happened, so would you please tell us?
Well, in 1959, he rode in our vehicle to the assembly in Des Moines, Iowa, where he was baptized. And truthfully, I thought he was a little kid because he kept playing with my dad, and he would play with the electric windows. He had never seen an electric window before. And so I thought he was kind of goofy. And anyhow, he walked around school with a pocket protector, and he always had a slide rule. And I soon learned that he had a good brain, and I was really attracted to his brain.
What happened? Might be an interview.
All right, moving on. Grandpa, did your in-laws like you?
Well, the funny thing about Jody, when we started dating, was there were other brothers that were interested in taking her out. But you had to go ask her father if it was all right. You had to go ask permission. And her father was kind of a formidable guy. And I was the only one that went up and asked to take his daughter out.
It was the windows.
So I'm not sure if they, of course they didn't like me because I was a guy taking their daughter out.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to that?
We went to the house that he asked me to marry him, and my dad punished him.
Was his brain protected? Obviously. Anyway. All right. So, you mentioned proposal. Okay, so how did you propose? That's something we would all like to know.
It was at my high school graduation, and it was we went to the junior senior prom, and after I graduated, I asked her then in front of my locker at high school. Oh, and when I asked her, I was so nervous. I had the engagement ring, and I handed the engagement ring to her, and she says, "Aren't you going to ask me anything?" I mean, I'd already asked her before, but this was the official thing. I didn't get down on my knee, but I did ask her.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
And I said yes.
That's important. All right. Oh, also, I see you're wearing a locket. Can you tell us the story behind that?
This is what he gave me the day that we were married. He gave me this locket, and I was hiding in the back of Kingdom Hall, ready to walk down the aisle, and he came in offered to wear. And so I still have it. And they say it's bad enough to see the bride. Well, obviously it's not.
Maybe it is.
Oh, 50 years now. All right. So this is going to be an interesting one. So individually, how were you introduced to the truth?
Well, I have a good story about that. I was interviewed at the Kingdom Hall by a brother who wanted to know that, and this is the way I told it. He says, "So, Brother Walker, how did you get introduced to the truth?" I said, "I found it in the attic." He was sitting in the chair, and we were on the platform, and he kind of looked at me because we hadn't gone over this at all. He said, "Oh, how was that?" And the fact was, my mother had studied with two ladies, and it was a Let God Be True book I found in the attic in a box, and I brought it down and asked my mom about it, and she told me, and then a couple of weeks later, these two ladies who were special pioneers called back to see if my mom wanted to start studying again, and that's when I started.
All right, thank you. And you, which I just found out today, her story, how were you introduced to the truth, please?
Well, we lived in El Dorado, Kansas, and my father kept going to a barber that was crippled because he felt bad for the man, and he gave him a watchtower. My father went to the dime store and purchased a Bible, and went back and got more watchtowers, and then we just started going to the Kingdom Hall.
All right, thank you very much. And so, along this line, so all of you know, we have 3 generations of children that have come from these two that are now all faithfully serving Jehovah, and that is a very awesome display of their faith. So along that idea, we have 3 generations of children that you have brought up in the truth. What methods did you use individually that you believe helped to bring all of these children that you have, grandchildren and great-grandchildren?
You gonna ask me first? I don't know. We raised them, and the truth was always the center of their life. Always going to meetings. That was what we did. We went out service, and I must say, my wife had a lot more to do with raising our kids than I did working. But she can tell you more about that.
I don't know exactly what I did right, but we used to, like for instance, my son Sean did not like to read, so I used to read the Watchtower and Awake to him until he found out he was dyslexic and he started reading more. I always read the Bible. When Janelle was little, we had my book of Bible stories that came out, and I read it to her every night. And it just, we went to meetings and it just helped.
Thank you. One thing that I remember with regard to the training, because when I was really young, I was always up at my grandparents' house, and whenever they did something, Grandma would always say, "Jehovah doesn't like that. You shouldn't do that."
I'm sorry.
But the point is that they made Jehovah a real person. It wasn't like some abstract concept that God was, but God was real. God was an everyday topic, and it didn't just say God, they said Jehovah. And so they really brought Jehovah into the household and made it a part of the daily activity. So it wasn't just at meeting days that I heard about Jehovah. And so I can attest to that, even though you don't know. But yeah, there you go. All right, so next question. We want to know 1 or 2 highlights of your 50 years of marriage together. So a couple things that, over the past 50 years that you really have stuck with you.
Well, I had a really good experience. I was back in Iowa City where I came to the truth, and there was a sister that came up to me. I was visiting my mother. This was like a couple of years ago. And the sister came up and said, "You probably don't remember me." And I said, "No." It was a sister that we got baptized together. She was from the congregation that was 30 miles south. And so I got to catching up and, finding out about the kids, what kids you have. And turned out she got married and had 2 or 3 kids, and her husband left her and divorced her, and her kids all weren't interested in the truth. when she was married the second time to a brother, I started telling her about all my children and my grandchildren, and I kind of got an epiphany that all of my kids are in the truth, they're all active, and I felt kind of sorry telling her this because at that point I thought, I'm really blessed that all of my children are with me, are here, they're helping. Well, we're actually a pretty good family.
Well, I thought a lot about this since when I heard I have to answer this question, and there have been so many things over the years that I'm not positive what to say. But you know, a mother never forgets the birth of her children, or her grandchildren, or her great-grandchildren. That's such an important day. It's an important day. It was great being around when he came with us in 1959, and when I got to know him, and we have traveled so much around to so many places, and we've met so many people all over the world, and we walk into the Kingdom Hall in Australia, New Zealand, or Japan, or Fiji, or anywhere we've been, in Israel, and we feel at home. And it's really wonderful being part of a brotherhood.
Thank you very much. Those are very nice experiences. So we're not done with the experiences. We want to go on to another question. With regard to marriage, 50 years is a very big milestone. It's something that deserves honor and respect. What we would like to know from you as well is maybe a single gem of wisdom that has helped you to come through the 50 years of marriage. Because obviously we know that in the Bible it talks about how there will be tribulation. You don't have to tell us about that part, but it will help you get through it.
Selective hearing.
So, what helped you get through marriage for those who are here who have not reached the 50 mark, or even if they have, and those who may be contemplating marriage?
Well, one thing I noticed about Jody before we got married is that she was a very loyal person. She always told you what she thinks, which sometimes stings a little bit, but usually is wise. But we decided when we were dating that we were going to be true to each other, and over the years, through any temptations of other women for me, or getting in situations, knowing the information from the governing body about a successful marriage and being true to your spouse, and to not let your attentions wander. We just remain true to each other, and we tell each other the truth.
Thank you very much. Following faith industries, and keeping the line of communication open is obviously very important. So, Grandma, from your perspective, a single gem of truth that has helped you through the 50 years?
Good communication, and don't fight about money. That's truthfully what it is. I remember one time, my husband and I were, I was taking guitar lessons, and then he started taking guitar lessons, and the guitar teacher wanted to take me out. So we quit the guitar, and now I don't know how to play the guitar anymore because we quit.
Thank you very much for each of your experiences. Everybody, let's give them a hand. So, you have something? On the program, we have interviews that we're going to now, oh, no, sorry, not interviews, comments from the children. We have Scott, Dad, and Janelle, and we're going to ask each one of them to come up and set them straight, tell them the truth, you know? Scott first. Words of appreciation to the parents over the past 50 years.
Well, Mom and Dad, I'd like to tell you thank for being such great parents. And through the 50 years that you've been married, you show a great example. You always show a good example for me how to treat, how a married couple should be. And you've been great parents through the years. When you took us to the assembly, the convention every year, go on vacations. That way we would go to vacations. Sometimes we'd go to California or wherever in the world. We'd always go in the summer to a convention. Not all the time, but that's what we did. I appreciate that. And appreciate putting up with me for all these years. I was not an easy teenager, that's for sure. And trying to get me to school. I wouldn't have graduated if they didn't kick me out the door sometimes and to get me to school. And my decisions I make in life have always supported me, even though the crazy things I do. Like right now, I've moved off to Europe, been there for 10 years, and you've supported me. You said you supported me with that, and I appreciate everything.
I'm told to keep this short and sweet. We all love you, Mom and Dad. My dad gave me good advice about marriage, about the wives. Always and never. Don't pay much attention to those, because you're always going to hit here. You always do this, and you never do that. Gave me good advice there. They've just been great over the years, like my brother said, taking us visiting the United States, going to different conventions. They've been really good examples. I always called my dad for advice. I thought I was really smart when I was younger, and I got married, and then I was calling him, finding out, what do I do now, Dad? Anyway, here's to now.
I wanted to write something down and take some time to really think about what I wanted to say, but I didn't get a chance. So this is off. I'm sure I'm not going to say what I wanted to. But when Ben asked you about what you did to help us in the truth, and I think your steadfastness and your devotion and love for Jehovah and your example by far have been just tremendously wonderful and kept me close to Jehovah myself. And without you, I don't know where we'd all be, where our whole family would be. You've been just amazing examples, and I feel like I'm the most fortunate daughter. I mean, we get along so well, we love each other so much, we live together. And you love my children as much as I do. And if not more, some days, teenagers. So I just feel so absolutely blessed by your example, and I just love you both so much.
Hang on a minute. Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you so. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you, and I always will. Wise men say, only fools rush in, but I couldn't help falling in love with you. Like a river flows surely to the sea, so, darling, so it goes, so things were meant to be. So take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you.
There was a sister that was going to sing that for me. She couldn't come, so I'm shocked. Because that was always my favorite song.
Okay, well, the grandkids have got a little dance to do. This is from a #1 song, 1962. Following your mom's instructions.
Come on, Ben, get up there.
I have no objection to the twist as such, but it does represent some kind of change in our standards. What has happened to our concepts of beauty and decency and morality?
Yeah. So now we're going to take you down to 45th Street where the Peppermint Twisters meet. Ha 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 ha!